Folder 7 Independent Review. Different dimensions of child rearing have been studied. Two of these dimensions are whether the parent is warm or cold and restrictive or permissive. As you might expect, warm parents give affection freer and are supportive and caring towards their children, while colder parents give few such indications. In terms of child outcomes, the warm parenting style is clearly superior, relating to internalizing moral standards and healthy emotional development. Parents who are restrictive tend to impose and enforce many rules compared to more permissive parents. If a restrictive parenting style is combined with parental warmth, the resulting parenting style is termed authoritative and is associated with positive outcomes for the child. However, if the restrictive style is combined with little warmth and frequent punishments, negative outcomes frequently occur. Some parents may be permissive because of disinterest and lack of involvement. Others may simply believe that children should have more freedom. Parents use different techniques to discipline their children. Induction refers to reasoning, explaining why a child should or should not do a certain behavior. Power assertion is using coercive techniques. Such methods could include taking away privileges or using physical punishment. Withdrawal of love, as the name implies, refers to a parent becoming or threatening to become cold, and ignoring or isolating the child after his or her misbehavior. The use of power assertion as the main discipline style is associated with more antisocial behavior in children, poor academic performance, and less peer acceptance. Use of love withdrawal may increase feelings of anxiety and guilt. Diana Baumrind described several parenting styles. As previously mentioned, the authoritative parent combines restrictions and warmth. In many ways, this style has the best outcome, including inducing in children high self-esteem, social competence, and self-reliance. Authoritarian parents combine restriction with coldness, relying more on coercion. Children of authoritarian parents have been found to be more hostile or defiant and be less independent. Permissive indulgent parents combine permissiveness with warmth, while rejecting. Neglecting parents are permissive but low in responsiveness and warmth. The latter style is associated with children who show the least competence and lack of responsibility and maturity. Parenting style may also be influenced by the situation and may vary from child to child. Parents tend to become more power assertive in discipline style when children clearly violate rules and should have acted differently. Events such as a divorce may also increase a parent's likelihood of using coercive discipline styles. The child's temperament may also affect parenting style. Parenting practices are also influenced by cultural characteristics. People in many Western cultures tend to be individualistic, placing high value on personal identity and goals. Other cultures are more collectivistic. Collectivists tend to define themselves in terms of the group they belong to and focus on the group's priorities rather than their own. Siblings may also influence each other, providing physical care and emotional support. Older siblings may be more dominating, but also more nurturing compared to younger siblings. Younger siblings may imitate their older siblings. Milder confrontations with siblings may help children develop their identity and social competence. As siblings grow older, their relationships tend to become more egalitarian. Mixed feelings are common when a new brother or sister is born. Jealousy can result in a child's regression, or returning to more baby-like behaviors, often in an attempt to gain attention from the parents. Sibling rivalry, competition among siblings, may be diminished by preparing the older child ahead of time for the new birth and by providing support and affection to the older child after the birth. A child's birth order can affect his or her interactions with family members. Only children and firstborn children have been found to be more motivated to achieve, to perform better academically, and to score higher on standardized tests. Parents may have higher expectations for only children and firstborn children than for later-born children. Firstborn children are also more likely to have imaginary playmates. Later-born children also are more likely to compete for their parents' attention, and parents tend to be more relaxed and permissive in rearing of later-born children. Peers may also influence each other. Even infants as young as 6 months of age show interest in other babies. As children grow older, their interactions increase, and at 2 years of age, children may have 2 or 3 children who are preferred playmates. Even for preschoolers, friendships are relatively stable. One study of 1 to 6-year-old children report that they tended to keep the same friends, and in some cases even for 3 years. When asked about their friends, preschoolers typically mentioned how they liked sharing activities and play materials. Other children, from around 5 to 7 years of age, typically mention having fun with their friends. Besides being fun, play has a number of useful functions, including developing motor coordination and the child's social skills. For instance, through dramatic play, children have the opportunity to try on new roles. Mildred Parton describes 6 types of play in preschool children. As you might guess, unoccupied play describes children who do not seem to be playing, while solitary play refers to children playing independently by themselves. Onlooker play is used to describe children who are watching others, perhaps making suggestions but not joining them in the play. These are all types of non-social play. Children who play near others with similar toys but with little interaction are engaged in parallel play. Associative play characterizes children interacting and sharing toys, but they are not necessarily working towards a group goal. Cooperative play involves not only interaction, but also a common goal with the division of labor. Pretending to be the various members of a family might exemplify this kind of play. Parallel play, associative play, and cooperative play are all considered forms of social play, play that involves influencing and interacting with others. Associative play and cooperative play are not common in young preschoolers, but do occur more commonly in children by the age of 5. Older preschoolers also spend more time in parallel constructive play that may have some educational value. By 18 months, children have been found to have toy preferences related to their gender. Girls, though, are more likely to vary from stereotypical toy choices than boys, perhaps because boys playing with girls' toys might be perceived as assuming an inferior role. Not only do toy preferences vary by sex, but the activities and environment do as well. On average, boys tend to prefer outdoor activities involving physical skills such as roughhousing or climbing, while girls spend more time in arts and crafts activities. Children are encouraged by parents and adults to engage in gender stereotypical play activities, but boys are more likely than girls to be criticized for cross-stereotypical play. Also, children as young as 2 begin to show preferences for same-sex playmates. Perhaps boys perceive girls as inferior, and girls may not want to participate in boys' more aggressive play. Pro-social behavior or altruism involve helping others without a reward for oneself. Sharing, one type of pro-social behavior, has been observed even during the first year of life. Being sensitive to others' feelings is empathy. Infants often cry when they hear other babies cry, perhaps indicating the beginnings of empathy. Children who empathize are more likely to behave in pro-social ways, such as trying to comfort a distressed child, and less likely to behave aggressively. Girls may be more empathizing than boys, perhaps because of socialization to be sensitive to the emotions of others. Pro-social behavior may be enhanced by increased perspective-taking skills as the child grows older. Also, children who are friendly, generous, and cooperative are likely to have others respond to them in a positive way, so there may be in fact some reward for this kind of behavior. Observing pro-social models may also help children become more cooperative and more likely to share. Parents who use inductive discipline techniques such as reasoning are also more likely to have children who engage in more pro-social behavior. Aggression in preschoolers is often related to possessions or has some instrumental purpose. Children who are more aggressive as preschoolers are more likely to be rejected by their peers, and children who are aggressive are more likely to have a variety of difficulties in adulthood. Consistency of aggression is higher for boys than girls. In other words, aggressive boys are more likely than aggressive girls to become aggressive adults. However, both aggressive boys and girls, compared to their less aggressive peers, have been found to have higher incidences of adult criminal convictions and spousal abuse. Various factors have been proposed as contributing to the causes of varying levels of aggression. Possible biological factors include the role of genes, levels of testosterone, and the child's temperament. Aggression in children may also be related to children's cognitive understanding. Boys who are more aggressive are more likely than non-aggressive boys to misinterpret other children's behavior. Social learning and social cognitive explanations of differences in children's aggressive level look at the roles of observational learning and operant conditioning. Some children may get what they want when they are aggressive. Also, aggressive children may be in peer groups that value aggressive behavior. Parents may also unintentionally reward aggressive behavior in their children by giving in when their child throws fits or yells. Children may also learn through observing others that aggression pays if they see their peers or parents behave aggressively. Parents who physically punish their children are being models of aggression for their children. Physical punishment may also increase anger in children, which can lead to increased aggression. The role of the media in children's aggression has also been studied. Bandura found that preschool children who observed a film with an adult hitting and kicking a Bobo doll were more aggressive to the Bobo doll than children in a control group who saw a film with no aggression. In addition to modeling the specific aggressive behaviors they saw in the film, the children who saw the aggressive model showed other aggressive behaviors that were also not shown. One interpretation is that witnessing the aggression of another disinhibits aggressive responses in general. Children who watch television are often exposed to violence. According to one estimate, a child watching 2 to 4 hours of television a day will see about 8,000 murders as well as 100,000 other violent acts by the end of elementary school. Movies are violent as well, with an average of 9 to 10 minutes of violence in a G-rated film. Moreover, media violence may mislead children about consequences of aggression. Often only minimal effects of violence are portrayed in children's media, with cartoon characters frequently bouncing from a certain death. Also, the long-term negative consequences of violent behavior are rarely shown. Media violence may contribute to children's aggression not only through observational learning and disinhibition, but also through increasing the child's mental, suggesting or priming aggressive thoughts, and through habituation, making violence seem mundane through repeated exposure. Violent video games have been found to increase aggressive behavior and thoughts in the lab. Playing these video games also have been found to be related to juvenile delinquencies in adolescence. Males may be more effective than females by these games, and students with higher grades, compared to those with lower grades, were less likely to be aggressive after exposure to these games. Self-concept, children's sense of who they are, continues to develop during the preschool years. Children can describe their categorical self based on readily observable external traits such as sex or age, about as soon as they learn to talk. By the age of 3, children can describe their internal states such as emotions or behaviors. Self-esteem refers to how persons value themselves. Children who have mothers who are sensitive and responsive are more likely to have higher self-esteem and behave pro-socially. Around 4 years of age, children begin to judge their own physical and cognitive abilities as well as their social competence, but the evaluations tend to be somewhat global, good at everything or not so good at everything. As children enter middle childhood, personality traits become part of children's self-concepts. Their self-evaluations become more differentiated in areas such as their appearance, their behavior, and their social relations. In Erikson's theory, preschool children enter the stage of initiative versus guilt. As they try new things and develop a sense of self-concept from their parents, they may begin to understand that not all of their efforts will turn out as they'd hoped. If adults are overly critical, a child's sense of initiative may be stymied. Fears are common in preschool children. Children between the ages of 2.5 and 4 seem to have the most fears. While fears of strangers, falling, and loud movements may diminish during preschool years, other fears that involve imaginary creatures, animals, personal safety, and darkness may be more prominent. Children's fears at this age may be influenced by television and movies, as well as stories they dream. Children may be afraid to have the lights off at night because they believe they might be hurt by imaginary creatures based on media. Children also fear real objects and situations, including high places, lightning and thunder, dangerous insects, and sharp objects. As children reach middle childhood, their fears include a fear of criticism and failure in school and in relationships. Girls on average have more fears than boys. Participant modeling helps children overcome fears through principles of observational learning. The cultural expectations that are different from men and women in a society are called gender roles. To some extent, gender roles may be based on stereotypes, beliefs, or ideas about a group of people such as men or women that are often distorted and oversimplified. In our society, the title woman is usually associated with being dependent, warm, submissive, gentle, and emotional, while the title of man is associated with being self-confident, independent, aggressive, competitive, and mathematically and scientifically inclined. By about the age of 2 to 2.5 years, a child is able to label boys and girls. and around age 3 shows some understanding of which toys, activities, and clothes are appropriate for boys and for girls. After preschool, while knowledge of gender roles continues to grow, children become more flexible and can recognize similarities between boys and girls as well as recognize individual differences within boys and girl categories. Children typically believe that their own sex is superior. Girls, for example, typically think that girls work harder, are nicer, and are less selfish than boys. Boys, though, believe that they work harder, are nicer, and are less selfish than girls. How different are males and females? During infancy, male-female differences tend to be small and somewhat inconsistent. During early childhood, boys and girls choose different toys, and boys are more likely to be aggressive and play more roughly. Girls, on average, are more empathetic towards others. Some psychologists have argued that sex differences have evolved due to different adaptation pressure. Differences in the organization of the brain have also been hypothesized as one source of sex differences. Early prenatal exposures to sex hormones could have resulted in different organizational patterns. One study found that while males tend to use the hippocampus in both brain hemispheres when navigating mazes, females tend to primarily use the hippocampus located in the right hemisphere as well as the right prefrontal cortex. Male sex hormones are probably involved in brain organization at the end of the embryonic period. Animal studies have supported such a role involving sex hormones. Male rats do better than female rats in learning mazes unless the females have also been exposed to sex hormones prenatally or right after birth. Gender differences in aggression have also been linked to prenatal hormones. Social cognitive theorists emphasize the importance of observational learning and socialization processes. Children learn gender roles by imitating same-sex models and through reinforcement for gender-appropriate behaviors. Bussey and Bandura found that 2 to 5-year-old children were twice as likely to imitate same-sex models as other sex models. Parents, particularly the father, may influence gender roles. Fathers tend to be more traditional than mothers in their interactions with their children. If mothers are employed or engaged in masculine tasks such as yard work or assembling toys, children tend to be less gender stereotypical. A cognitive developmental perspective on gender typing was described by Lawrence Kohlberg and includes the concepts of gender identity, gender stability, and gender constancy. Gender identity occurs first and includes others labeling the child a boy or a girl. By 2 years of age, children can indicate whether they are a boy or a girl. According to Kohlberg, children develop gender stability, the understanding that one's gender remains the same throughout their life by 4 or 5 years of age. Gender constancy is the understanding that people's gender does not change even if they change the clothes they're wearing or their activities. A boy is a boy even if he puts on a dress or washes the dishes. Children acquire gender constancy around 5 to 7 years of age. The ability to conserve may be cognitive groundwork for gender constancy. Both gender constancy and conservation are based on the child's understanding that something remains the same even when appearances change. Gender schema theory is another cognitive approach that describes how we organize gender-related information. A schema is an organizational framework, and so a gender schema is grouped items or clusters of male or female-related traits, behaviors, and characteristics. Because gender labels are so central in societies, as soon as children acquire girl or boy labels, they begin to organize information into gender schemas. While many people think of masculinity and femininity as opposites, it is certainly possible for individuals to be psychologically androgynous, to have both masculine and feminine characteristics. An individual can be independent and self-confident, as well as nurturant. Perhaps androgynous children and adults are better prepared to meet a wider range of situations, from fixing a flat tire to comforting a crying child. Others, including the author of your text, have criticized androgyny for continuing to define behavior based on masculine and feminine characteristics, because doing so continues to give these terms credence.